Welcome to Talks from the Essex Hotel with your hosts, Sarita Patel and Latham Woodward. The views expressed on this show are those of our guests and are not necessarily in line with our opinions, but can be. Please enjoy this program and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you. Welcome back to Talks from the Essex Hotel. I'm Latham Woodward with my host, as always, Sarita Patel. Hi, Sarita.
Hey, Latham.
How you doing, Sarita?
It's great to see you. I am doing great.
Well, tonight we had an episode planned about talking the effects on the American psyche of the standard soap opera genre, but that got waylaid because Sarita bounced into two friends in the lobby of the Essex Hotel today. Sarita, why don't you introduce your friends?
Well, so like Latham said, I was walking around the lobby and I ran into two people that I've known for, I think maybe both for over 12 years, just running in and out in our industries. And I just said, oh my God, what are you doing here? And they are doing some work in the Bay Area. And I said, so we were all in the domestic staffing industry. And we all had families, as everyone has heard my story. And so we had a chance to talk about the industry now that I've been out of it for about 10 years. And so I thought we'd invite them upstairs.
That's very nice.
So we've got Jody and Jill here, and they traveled to the Bay Area.
Wow, from the East Coast, I hear.
One from the Midwest and one from Southern California, but I'll let you,
Okay.
Yeah.
And Marvin let them in the building.
Marvin let them in the building.
Well,
and they did comment.
We'll have to have a talk with Marvin.
We will.
So, Jill, Jody, welcome to the show, and thanks for coming by. I really appreciate it. For many years, I've heard Sarita talk about this industry that you guys are all involved in, and it sounds interesting, fun, challenging, horrifying, and really different to me. So, Jill, why don't we start off with you and tell us just a little bit about yourself. I know that you're still in the business, so let's just hear what you're up to.
Thank you, Latham. So nice to be here, Sarita. So I have been in this industry probably going on 18 years.
Wow.
And I'm from the East Coast, born and raised in New Jersey, lived in New York City, worked in the entertainment industry, multiple careers. And somehow or other, as we all do, we end up doing something we love, which we do, which I do. And I fell into this business.
Wow. And Joe, for you?
Gosh, not much different. I was born and raised in the Midwest and fell into the industry. My original industry was in retail management. And I met someone in that line of work that introduced me to the domestic industry when I became a nanny. And I traveled a professional sports tour for 2 years as a nanny. And then I organically morphed into becoming a house manager, estate manager, personal assistant. And I somehow became a multiples specialist of quadruplets, triplets, and twins, and nannied for a lot of years. And I'm still in the industry. I've kind of gone back and forth between retail and domestic service, but domestic service is my passion, and I hope to retire from this career someday. Okay,
cool. Well, one thing I realized after being around Sarita for so long is you guys don't talk about your clients by name. I love that. And it's all secret. It's hush hush, which is great. I mean, good for your clients and probably good for you, too, in your career.
True.
We live in a secret society.
You do.
We do.
We live in our own secret society.
Lots of NDAs.
But our secret society is really, I would say, based on a mutual respect. Mm-hmm. So, what's secret is secret because it's sacred knowledge. It's not something where we're protecting bad behavior. Mm-hmm. I've never been in that kind of a situation where I've been asked to keep a secret, for something nefarious. But I like that. This is a secret society that's really based on mutual trust, respect, and
privacy.
Yeah.
It's kind of understood. We were at an event recently where you meet all these people. We're all in the same line of work, but none of us know who each other works for. And it's just kind of an understood rule that, yeah, we can talk about things we do, but nobody knows who we do them for, per se.
So let me start off some questions with you. So what skills matter more than your resume? Does that make sense to you?
People skills.
For sure.
Something you can't quantify really,
How to read a room.
right?
Definitely how to read a room.
Definitely.
And is that one of the most important skills?
I would say so. I think that one of the jobs that I worked on when the principal was still in bed and I had to bring him coffee, and it's literally walking into a room, putting the coffee down, and making it exit fast. And is that something that somebody teaches you? No, you have to instinctually know to walk into a room and read the room and get out.
And discretion.
And in total indiscretion.
Discretion.
Discretion.
Yeah, discretion.
Not
yeah.
indiscretion.
Not indiscretion.
Total discretion. Thank you.
And, it must be weird being with the principals a lot. You must grow to love them and hate them, just like a family member kind of, but one that you can actually check out from. Does that accurately represent the kind of feelings you get sometimes? It's like any employer.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've lived in several of my roles, so that is a very different experience than not living in. So you're living in someone's space, and it's not like you punch a time clock and go home and leave the building.
Right.
Like, that's actually where you're living as well. So that's a whole nother element of, being a family member, if you will, or in the case when I was a nanny, the kids didn't know it was my day off. They're just pounding on my door because they know I live there. So it is a different environment and a different skill set of living and working. It's very intimate. Sometimes you're just in this silo by yourself, and people who are not in this industry don't understand. My family to this day does not understand what I do. My mom asked me that recently. I was home for Mother's Day weekend, and she still does not know what I do. So, they don't understand the dynamics of
Right.
the role.
And being able to set boundaries. You're living in, which I have done as well, and knowing that if the principals are sitting in the living room and you've seen them all day, go to the room. You've not done anything wrong, but you have to give them time and space because you are living in. It's their space. It's not your space, as opposed to living on property, which is very different. Or being able to live, not living in, and when you're living, it's a live-out job. You get to go home, you close the door behind you, and you leave. But if you're living in, it's a totally different dynamic.
Right.
Yeah.
I just realized, Sarita, that I've joined your secret society in my new job. Oh, my God.
I told you.
I know. You should see the shenanigans. I see.
Well, I think both of these guys have brought up, these gals have brought up a really important topic. And again, all of these things that we touch upon could literally be 2-3 hour long talks because they are so intimate. They need to be discussed, back and forth. But the live in and what you had said about being able to read the room. When you read a room, that's your intuitive nature that you've, accessed. That's not something that can be put in a manual or a job description, right?
That only comes with experience as well.
It comes with experience.
We didn't know it day one.
Right. And it takes a type of person to even want to have that experience. So you can have the experience and be perpetually bad at reading the room. And that's probably not going to be a good job for you. So I think that was a great question, Latham.
Joe, can you pull your mic a little closer pull it to your left a little? Yeah, there you go, because you're aiming that way. That's great. Sarita, when you were doing your jobs over the many, many years and with many principals you had, what do you think the difference is between now and then? And you guys are all similar age, I'm guessing, within 10 years of each other. And you probably have all experienced an evolution within your industry. Can you describe that a little from your perspective, Sarita, and then we'll hear what Jill and Joe have to say?
Well, I think from my perspective, the biggest thing that has changed is our society has changed.
Right.
So that societal change has affected all industries, not just ours. But the people who require domestic staff are the people who did really well in all these changing industries. They are for the first time experiencing a need for help in their home or outside, right? So right there you have inexperienced clients coming in. And who's going to shepherd them? The recruiters. So you have this, like, there's a beginning of. So when I started, my first person had already kind of gone through the making of the money, had had some staff, had gone through some pretty tough times, not all good times. And by the time I came around, he was a more seasoned domestic staffing employer. So he had more experience, right? So I was also only 28 when I started. So I was at that age where I was impressionable, and yet I had so much work experience prior to that, that I was able to ask tough questions. I was able to have a conversation with. So, the changes I see right now is we've got young principals and we've got young staff, and there's really no coach or mother in the middle.
Sure.
So let me ask you all something. There's that very famous British nanny training school. I can't remember.
The Norland?
What?
Or the Starkey.
Norland? Or Stark. I think Norland is British.
The British,
Norland.
Starkey's.
Okay. And I know that it's very rigid, the training. And I know that when you graduate, I think I read recently that they make between $250,000 and $300,000 a year for their placements because they're all very high end. And I was actually brought up by one of these ladies when, what was her name? Vera. And Vera not only raised me, my brother, and my sister, and my mother.
Wow.
And only for a year and a half each. And then her thing was hand them off to the moms. And that was her routine. And we didn't have the money to hire from that agency. She had emigrated.
Yeah.
But that was her training ground. So it's interesting.
Yeah, usually they go to the royal families. I mean, that's where all the royal families hire, I think, most Norland.
Yeah, and I've seen them in their little uniforms. It seems pretty intense, though.
Yeah, it's very regimented training for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and if you get the regimented training, right, then you can always back it up. But if you don't have enough training, then to learn like that sophisticated way without a formal training, that's very difficult. You have to get books out and you have to get a teacher because, the royal family has it a certain way. But, you don't know this about Latham, but, Latham had staff in his house growing up, and so did my parents. And so we come from this observing it, in two different ways. Like, why is there so much trouble in this industry? It's like one of the most rewarding areas you can participate for both, right? Because if you can help your family have a peaceful, just fulfilling life by having extra hands, then they will most probably do their best work at work. So it becomes this humane ecosystem in my eyes. And so, you asked what the changes are. I think the whole systems of this industry have changed. And I've said this before because private equity is really running the recruiting and the management. And I don't want to blame this all on
we're not going to go
private
down that
equity.
wormhole today.
But it's one of the levers that's the easiest.
Yeah.
Right? That's all.
Yeah, it's an interesting world for sure. I'll relate a personal story that has to do with household staff. My grandparents were very fortunate to have 5 people living in. And they're all great people. I know nothing about them to this day other than my interactions with them. That's it. Don't know where they're from or anything. One night, my grandfather had his very good friend from Harvard come to dinner, who's an incredibly wealthy banker from New York. And they loved the food so much, within a week they'd stolen her cook, my grandmother's cook.
That's called poaching.
That's definitely poaching.
Yeah, it was not a happy day for my grandfather.
What part of the country?
Where did they live?
Yeah, where?
A ranch in Bighorn, Wyoming.
Oh,
Near,
interesting. Okay.
Old-timey polo country.
Yeah.
And hunting.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about accidentally falling into this industry, but, if you grow up in the Midwest, like where I grew up. Most people don't have nannies or housekeepers or chefs, or I didn't even actually know it was an industry that existed in general. I just, moved to California and found out that people had nannies and chefs and housekeepers, and as I fell into being a nanny. And I didn't have formal training. I just loved children. I had started babysitting when I was 13. And then I, was approached by someone to go on a sports tour, and the rest is history. So, I didn't have formal training or anything. I just
Right.
Had a love of children and, grew up babysitting. And like I said, my mom to this day doesn't understand what I do for a living. So there you go. Stay-at-home mom.
So let's qualify this for the audience as well, too. From what my understanding is, you've all worked for multimillionaires, billionaire people, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Wow.
Yep. I told you I run into the craziest people in this lobby.
That's a lot.
I've worked
that's
for
a lot of
celebrities.
secrets in this
Celebrities
room.
as well. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Jill has worked for celebrities. Jill is from, she spent time in the film industry too.
Okay.
So, part of the reason why I wanted these two to come upstairs and do this with us is because they're also very different, right? So you asked the question about the resume and technical skills.
Right.
So in my long-term employment job, I would totally have a Jill and a Jody. So if somebody were to tell me, well, this position has to be done by one person, I'd have to scratch my head because Jill and Jody do different things, but they also funnel into a common mission.
I'm glad you brought this up because I really like this point of view because there are specialties within household management and you cannot have one person do it. In the old days, I know that there was the position, the major domo. Do you guys ever work with major domos?
No, I have not.
I know some, and
Yeah,
my network.
it's for those who are listening, that would be Higgins on Magnum PI. He's not a butler. In fact, he'd probably be offended if he had to do butler jobs. But he's the guy who runs the whole show. Not just the chief of staff, everything. Travel, cars, everything. But have you had interactions with these people before?
Almost nowadays they call that the estate manager. I think it's different. It's also different, interestingly enough, in certain parts of the country. So, the Bay Area staffed homes are very different than the East Coast staffed homes or the southern staffed homes. But I have a friend who came from the hospitality industry, from a very 5-star restaurant, who sort of became that major domo for a family and is well into his 70s, been there for 20 years. And it's kind of like, how do we replace him? Because we need 5 people
You can't
to do
replace
his
that guy.
job.
Can't replace.
So he's tried to retire for 10 years and can't.
How much money are they throwing at that guy right now? My God.
Yeah, a lot. And
Yeah.
and he's working for a billionaire family. And so,
Then it becomes the money is, that position has to do things that are, sometimes you have to make up the solution, right? Because there are new problems. And then it just becomes a matter of, if you're going to have an expensive rug in your foyer, it's mostly because you have to have that rug. And so if you've got somebody with that kind of knowledge of the family and the ways, it's almost like the price doesn't matter. It's got to work for both,
Yeah, I get that. If it doesn't work for both of you, why even go there? It must be terrible.
Yeah.
What is the most challenging thing you guys have had to deal with? Joe, why don't we go with you first? It doesn't have to be super specific.
The most challenging thing, I think, what recently, just even since COVID came around, in the current market, is really an ageism for me personally. If it had been COVID 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and I was back out in the market, I would have had a job the next day. But it's just become different in the expectations, in the clientele hiring for these roles. That's definitely been, for me, a challenge. As far as in a role, the most challenging thing, I think it always revolves around communication more than anything. I always say you can line up 10 homes on the same street. I could go do the tasks in all 10 homes. but it's really the personality fit, the chemistry fit, the communication style of you and the principals and how you get along. It almost always revolves around that when there's conflict.
And for you, Jill?
I kind of agree. I remember reading something with Richard Branson, and the comment that he made, or in this article that I read, was, you can teach somebody anything, but you can't teach personality. And personality is the most important when you are connecting with your principals.
You have to get along with them, don't you?
And that does blend into the communication, without a doubt. But
Right.
yes, personality is that you're on the same page. You're in a space that is their space. It's always about their property. It's not yours. I can say we, the collective we. I'm doing this for us, but it's always them. Mm-hmm. And really understanding that it is them.
Yeah, it must be. I know this firsthand. It's sometimes hard to separate the two because you're representing them, but you're not them.
Correct. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a fine line. It's just, you got to do what's right. Now, one thing that Sarita and I talked about that is somewhat problematic. We've had a one of the biggest civil rights attorneys in the world on the show, Larry Organ. He's a civil rights attorney here in California. He beat Elon Musk twice now for over $400 or $500 million. And, you know, he had some interesting things to say about NDAs, because I asked him about NDAs. And I had to remind him that, or not remind him, but, you know, cajole him to talk about NDAs and how they're really ineffective when you're talking about illegal acts, right? Because he's like, yeah, if, you know, you could keep your job, sure. But if you're witnessing something, and we know this from Epstein and this garbage that's going on, a lot of people witnessed what was going on. Not just a few, a lot. Whether it was the steward,
Turned the blind eye.
the stewards, or the flight attendants,
The
or
lawyer.
the drivers, the lawyers. I mean, there's hundreds of people who know what was going on
And
here.
staffing agencies. There was
Yeah.
a staffing agency
Yes, there was.
that got
So what do you think's going to happen? Anything?
with
To these additional people who witness all this garbage? Because they're all terrified about these NDAs, but the
Yeah, but
NDAs
they-
are worthless because they're illegal acts.
Yeah,
Well-
and a lot of times they say the NDA is as good as the papers it's written on, right?
Right.
I mean, as we know, people write books, people do interviews, people do things.
Yeah, and I do want to hear. I mean, everyone knows my story. It's like if I see something, then I will put my foot in the elevator door. There's not been a time where I've looked the other way, because honestly, it's too much work. Mm-hmm. Like, who has time to cover stuff up?
Right. Remember my old saying? The truth is so simple.
It's so
so
simple.
simple.
I actually had a recruiter ask me that last week in an interview, and they said, what is one thing you won't do? Like, what will you not do in a role? And I said, well, I'm not going to do anything illegal.
Yeah.
So, of course, we're asked to do crazy things. I could give you stories for the next 2 hours. But, yeah, I'm not doing anything illegal. That's where I'm drawing the line.
Right.
You
I
know?
have two stories. One is for a principal in Southern California, and the children wanted fireworks. The parents were out of town in France, and the female, the Mrs., wanted me to buy fireworks. And this was in a fire zone in Santa Barbara, Montecito area, and I refused. If you were there, you can get your child fireworks, but I am not going out buying fireworks and paying cash in some situation. And then, God forbid, something should happen on my watch. Just not happening.
Jill, we would have visited you in Lompoc prison.
Yeah, we would.
Then the other day, I was on a phone call with somebody, and he said, so, you know, I just want to ask you this question. If the principal said, you know, she wanted to give her husband, you know, some medication because he wasn't taking his medication for dementia, would you crush it up? And I said, absolutely not. I am not getting into anything having to do with medication to give somebody medication I'm grinding.
Yeah, you could hear that bus backing over your head faster
Wow.
than you could blink.
Wow.
They did, yeah, I mean, that's a weird thing is the Matthew Perry thing with his assistant getting convicted
That's
yesterday,
horrible.
I think, right?
It's horrible.
And I think he was a lot younger, wasn't he? In his like late 20s or something.
Yeah, maybe barely in his 30s.
He was
but-
young.
Yeah,
he was
and-
impressionable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jill, I lived in West Hollywood for about 4 years when I was the CEO of a company. I was commuting back and forth. And I was stupefied to see what people would do for money down there. It was criminal.
I actually was, at the time, I was working at Warner Brothers, and one of the shows that I was working on was Friends. So I was very familiar with the entire crew and the staff for 3 shows. One was ER, one was Friends, and one was Hope and Gloria at the time. And, that kind of fame changes people. It just does. That kind of money, when they're making $1 million an episode and they're in their 20s.
And every restaurant, every bar, every place they go in LA, it is kiss ass central.
Absolutely.
And so everybody's lapping you up every day, and it's
sad.
It corrupts your brain.
Yeah.
Well, it does. I mean, it becomes an addiction, and that energy feed, you can actually feel it. So you might not know what it is, but it definitely makes you feel good. And then I think, again, as we're talking about experience, you hand a young person who's always wanted to make it, they finally make it. $1 million an episode is a lot of money. And then you kind of get on the marketing hamster wheel where you have to have this, and you have to have this, and you have to do this. So it's almost like a checklist of to do now that you've arrived. Right? So that to me is, again, common in all areas, but especially our area, by the time you can afford domestic staff to make your life easier, you're already kind of in a little bit of a Lulu land.
Yeah, for sure.
And the recruiters know how to place people based on that personality. So when we go to Matthew Perry's assistant, or why you would bring in a young person, which creates an ageism, it's because a young person doesn't have the experience to offer another solution.
Or say no.
Or say no.
The yes person.
Yeah, right.
And I'm going to be like, yeah, no, sorry, I'm not doing that. You got to find someone else.
Right.
And be okay with saying no.
Yeah.
Well, you don't want to have the repercussions crash down on you. I mean, I would assume in your positions, if something had gone drastically wrong in a household that was not your fault or even remotely close to you, but you happened to be there at the time, a bad client would throw you under the bus.
Yeah, it's like it's on your watch, right? And, just your core of who you are, your integrity, your morals, it's funny because the recruiters always say to me, oh, well, they love you because you're from the Midwest. So they know I was raised a certain way, or I have certain morals, or my parents were married 50 years, or whatever it was, But, I'm not buying drugs for you. I'm not doing illegal things for you, whatever. Like, that's just where I'm going to draw the line in the sand.
I think that's reasonable, though.
Yeah.
It's reasonable.
But there's plenty of people that will. So you can hire the person that will.
Yeah. Now, how much training do you guys have to do of your clients? And Sarita brought up a good point because there's so many young people, especially around here, with a lot of dough, like shocking amounts of money. I mean, shocking. And
Yeah.
do you have to train them? Do you find yourself like helping them?
You have to be able to manage up. So if you are, in my case, I've been in, different industries, and I've managed staffs of 100, and I've had 30 direct reports. And, I'm talking to the CEO and the truck unloader in the same day. You do have to have sort of that skill set to manage up if you're going to work for this 30-year-old billionaire who has no idea what we do or what we can do or what they should be doing. It is a skill set, and some don't like it. And I'm okay with having, those tough conversations of, this is my recommendation. This is what I think you should do. Here's option A, B, and C. I think you should go with B. Whatever it is. It depends on what the subject matter is.
That's a great way to approach it. You give them the options to make the call. I didn't even think about that.
And always let them make the decision.
You are training them, though, for sure.
Yeah. And I think, going back to what are the differences, and, I have a list of these things, but one could just even be the processing speed of this younger generation of wealth holders. They grew up in a very different, in a much faster paced environment. So some of them don't even know what it is to have that patience to make a decision. And so, like you said, training them to stop and make a decision becomes a factor of rewording the memo or something, right? How we may have done it.
Situational leadership is the other thing I like to say. So you are leading to your audience, obviously. The old money socialite is not the same as the 30-year-old tech billionaire. So you're reading the room, but you're training each in a different way. So absolutely.
Who's your ideal client, Jill?
I'm interested in the senior market, elderly, aging in place, those navigating life transitions, death, dying.
So like kind of holistic palliative care in a way?
Sure. Death doula work.
Yeah. Did you come to that after experience, or is that a goal you had?
I came to it after. I had a family that I worked for, and I came onto the job, and the one principal was dying of cancer. I didn't know how long I was going to be there. I signed a year contract, and it lasted 4 years. And I just dove in. I did everything, waking up in the morning and giving her medication at 6, 2, and 10. Making her smoothies, getting her coffee, seize candy, whatever was required. And she went into hospice about a week and a half after I started, passed away 6 weeks after. And that was kind of the beginning of an education in learning how to sit with somebody who's dying. And it was a gift. It became a gift to me to be in that place. And I didn't have that with my parents. When my father died on Christmas Day and died in his sleep, and then my mom. So I didn't have that experience, and I just felt that it was a gift. And then after that, I had the cat died, and then the mom passed away at 98. So I had two disparate types of situations: one cancer, one of old age, and it just grew out of that. And it was just curiousness and interested in education.
And Joe, for you, what's your perfect client, if there is such a thing?
Yeah, I'm a very much a Jill of all trades, if you will, and I love a really diverse role. Like, I'm more suited to a young family, the family that has sort of the energy of the children. I love being in homes with children, and I'm very close to that market. And really that where that long, they're going to need me for a long time, right? So that's I can do everything from, yes, the housekeeper calls out sick and I'll empty the dishwasher and fold the load of towels, but then in the next breath I'll book the jet, manage the construction project, manage the 5 other vacation homes, and handle all of the children's activities and manage the nannies. And so I'm really very diverse and love super busy, boots on the ground type role.
You just brought up something that Sarita and I have talked about recently. It's an old saying my stepfather used to have. It was like, he said when I was younger, he goes, "Young man, never buy something you can easily rent." And I'm just entranced by all these rich people who are buying 25 homes around the world and stuff. I just don't understand it. Honest to
You
God,
and me both.
you can go to Martinique and get the baddest ass house you want for 5 months, and it costs you less than your mortgage would for a year.
Yeah, I think in some cases they have to put their money somewhere, right?
Right.
Like the reason the east side of Tahoe has blown up, the whole Nevada side is tax purposes. Why the exodus to Miami and Austin, and literally there's so many jobs there. It's insane.
Yeah.
They had to go put their money somewhere.
I had a friend
Yeah,
who,
because they can't put their money, to ending food starvation and the housing problem, right? They have to go plant it in.
It's all about taxes. And, yeah.
No, I had a friend. Sarita knows the story. I had a friend who sold. This is back in the day, right? 1989, 90, something like that. Sold phone cards. You remember phone cards?
yeah.
Yes.
For those of you who are too young to realize what a phone card is, you
Which is
bought
not us in this room.
No, he bought a card. It was a credit card, and it had minutes on it. You
Yep.
could use them anywhere in the
Yeah.
world, right? So he became I think he made $500 or $600 million by the time he was 30. He hired his heroin addicted friend to live in his 8-bedroom mansion in Incline Village with one instruction: use this credit card every day. Buy meals, buy food,
So
get
he's
your
like-
shitty clothes dry cleaned, and save every receipt. Those were his instructions.
Wow.
Can I have that job?
Yeah.
You certainly deserve it more than that guy did, believe
Yeah.
me.
I
Well-
recently just did a little trial situation for very new money, and they wanted me to find a place in Jackson Hole, find a place in Aspen, find a place in a couple other places in Florida, and I mean, they weren't going to really even go to any of them or live in any of them, but they just needed me to research finding places to buy.
Just to park money.
But the biggest thing about the high net worth arena is they saying it's just because they can.
Oh, God, Sarita, tell your
remember,
story.
we had
Oh,
this
my
on one of
God.
the podcasts where I asked a couple in Atherton. They were living in a 25,000 square foot house, and they were building a 60,000 square foot house around the corner. And they kept saying, "Oh, our house is just, it's just too big. It's just too big." And then they drove me to the new site, and I'm looking at the plans, and I said to the woman, I said, "Can I ask you, if you don't need a big house, why are you building this ginormous palace?" And she said, "Because we can,
Absolutely.
and it's our responsibility." And she said it with such earnesty. We can.
we can.
So
Yeah.
Meanwhile, a family of gypsies lives in one wing, and they don't know who they are.
we're in the
I mean-
basement. Yeah.
I'm a paranoid guy, so a big house freaks me out. I grew up in a big house, and I don't like it. You never know what's going on the other side of it, right?
Well, and again, it just gets into this Delulu land. That's what I call it. I mean, my boss for a long time only had one house, and the second house was like a big deal, and it was in a foreign country, and it was for specific reasons. But he used to always say, these people who have 5, 6, 7 houses, you got to look out for them because they're parking their money somewhere. And again, this is not derogatory. It's actually, a strategic financial recommendation. And people follow the recommendations of their financial advisors and lawyers. So
Well, those guys in the family office need a place to vacation also.
that's true.
So,
That's true.
There you go. You never know.
That's a good
Well,
one.
and nowadays, estate managers negotiate that into their contract as a perk, a staycation. So I know of several estate managers who, in their employment contract, they get X
They get days
time to go to Jackson Hole, to
Lake Como.
wherever. Exactly.
What I like about that, if you do incorporate that into a contract, is that you get to find out how the house actually functions.
Oh, it's really,
It's
smart.
I think it's essential.
That's
When I
really
managed-
smart.
That's really smart.
Well, I managed a wine country property at the time that I lived in Marin County, and I used to go up once a week, and they maybe used it 5 times a year. So I'm there, every other weekend with my friends and filling, the 8 bedrooms and finding out this shower doesn't work, this toilet isn't flushing, and then I've got my whole laundry list of the to-do things to do.
You just reminded me, I used to do that for a friend of my wife's who was a candy heiress from the Midwest. I won't name her name. But she had a couple of vacation properties, and she would call us between her rentals, say, "Can you just hang out for a week there?" Because I don't like it unattended. I don't like the
Yep.
neighbors thinking there's nobody there.
Yeah.
So we would go up and, we wouldn't get, 5-star service. It would be us.
Yeah, but
So,
still.
hamper full of food.
Right. Yeah, no, that was
In
my
our swim
that
trunks.
was one of my favorite jobs, was going to the wine country weekly.
Yeah, that sounds nice.
Well, we've got a young man in the room too who's not on mic. We'll have him on some other time. And he started working with me right after college. And, he knows firsthand. I'd be like, can you go check, make sure this faucet works? We've got guests coming in or whatever. And so this occupying the houses consistently is not a waste of money. It'll actually save you money in the long run.
Because plumbing goes bad.
Yep.
I have a second house, and plumbing goes bad. You've got to run it. You've got
The
to
toilets flush.
Yeah, and mine's in a foreign country, so you have to run water in these floor drains all the time. It's something you're like, what? Why would you have to do that? If you don't, your house ends up smelling like a sewer.
Yep.
And people don't even know about stuff like that.
Don't you need us to go to that house for you in the foreign country?
Everything's open to negotiation.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll talk about that after.
You could go to my little village and have quite a calling of good potential clients.
I am free and available, so we'll talk about that after.
Jill is a personality. Like I was telling these two, I said, what I love about both of you is you are who you are. And side by side, you add value together. Independently, you're great too. But that's what I love. If you have a house that's run by a great cast of characters who get shit done, there's nothing more fun.
Well, you just hit on something very important, and I think you guys have already intimated a little bit. If the relationship and your relationship with the house itself, the dwelling, is really solid, your principals will have a better life.
Yes.
Hands down.
Yes.
Well, and it's also a lot more fun to work that way than in a toxic, bullying, working for a tyrant. If your head, the chief Indian, is having fun and the people love working for you or for that person.
Right.
I've certainly brought those people with me from place to place. My vendors and contractors love to go with me. I've worked, at 8 houses on the same street, and they're like, "Yep, what do you need? We're coming."
Yeah.
So it should be fun. Like it's not very much fun to go to a miserable place every day.
Well, as we're getting to 45 minutes here already, believe it or not, if a young person was considering going into this business, what would you tell them to do and not to do? And why don't we start with you, Joe?
I mean, you definitely need boundaries. So if I've always sort of been that 24/7 person. I'm unencumbered. I don't have a husband. I don't have kids, pets, plants to water. I can, be available to someone 24/7. When I was younger, that was very much not good work-life balance, right?
Right.
So I think you definitely need to think about that, because if you don't have those, then, you could be blood dry.
Jill?
Oof.
What's your advice? I mean, you're going to a different stage in your career with going to geriatric care, but what?
I think one of the things that I would impart to somebody new starting out is find your niche, find your focus. Don't just take anything just because of the money. Be interested, be passionate, and really feel like you're participating in something that gives you joy. Because if it's not giving you joy, if you can't find something that fills your soul, then it's just a job.
Yeah. What are key indicators if you are a young person, or anybody for that matter, who's interviewing with a principal or their representative? What's an indicator that bad things are about to happen?
There's always red flags. I mean, the one I recently just mentioned, I was the third person in 6 months. So that was a red flag right off the bat.
Third person in 6 months?
Right.
So something's wrong.
Right. So it's not me. I'm not the common denominator.
No.
Right. So you have to ask those questions. I mean, that's just always the questions I ask. And, ideally you're going there and doing day in the life, week in the life, trial. You're, trying each other out.
Right.
There's always going to be a honeymoon period, but you can figure out a lot of indicators quickly.
It's very important to do a trial.
Mm-hmm.
How long is typical?
It could be 1 week. It could be 90 days. I mean, it depends on what the role is.
I did a 3-week trial in Virginia. 2 days in, I knew I was not going to take the job.
2 days. That's all it took.
That's all it took for me was 2 days. I thought, there's no way that after this, the wife passed, that I would be able to work for this gentleman. I have 3 sticklers, which is narcissistic, bullying, micromanaging. Those 3 things, this gentleman, and I was not interested.
So his wife got out easy. Sorry for the dark humor.
I know, but I wish I could say yes, but it was painful. It was so painful to watch because they didn't have children. They were married for a very long time. He was losing his wife. He was grieving because somebody grieves right when they get diagnosed. But up until the end, he did not want his wife to go in hospice. Hospice is something that people fear about, that's the end. Kind of is.
Yeah, but it's a real thing.
But it's a real, yeah. And to see her struggle was horrific. I learned a new expression that I had never heard before. Not my monkey, not my circus.
Whoa.
And I had to go, okay, I'm walking away from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, Sarita, hands up.
I didn't know if you were going to ask me what I might.
You're
Do
in the
a lot
group.
to a
You're in
young
the
person.
secret society.
What would you tell a young person?
So I would tell, I look for opportunities in train wrecks, as I told you guys. I say it all the time. And I would tell a young person, I would actually sit down and ask them what they want to do with their life before they applied or even warned, because I think a lot of people are getting into domestic staffing because it's got so many opportunities right now. It's paying a wage that actually looks livable. So, when we graduated from college, we had a lot of mentorship programs. Somebody would sit down with us and say, what do you like to do? What are you really good at? What do you hate doing? And that kind of gives the counselor an idea of which area to pinpoint you. And, that's what I would do first before I even warned them about domestic staffing. Because I think domestic staffing also attracts a very empathetic group of people, which they're targeting, which is perfect for control environments. So, I would take it a step back and go, there is a void in the education market for kids these days, or for a lot of people these days. And, that's why I spend all day on phone, providing therapy, because people get in too
You were
deep.
supposed to retire. What are you telling me now?
I told you what happened. My phone blew up after we announced retirement.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Her phone doesn't stop ringing.
Stop
It's not.
giving. You two are around her, and you'll be around her for a little while. Tell her to get the F off the phone giving free advice to people. They don't deserve it. They're not good friends to hers. I'm sorry, Sarita, and if your friends are listening, I'm going to say it. They do not reciprocate.
Those days are over. Now there's a new category of people who are truly suffering. And I think there's a lot of that happening, and I am not Mother Teresa, but I do learn a lot when I keep hearing the same pattern stories ahead of time, because I get more prepared for what's to come.
I think Latham is right.
Oh, okay.
I'm giving you Stockholm Syndrome, Class 3. I mean, my God. Come on. We've worked so hard together. All those sessions.
All that free therapy.
Yeah. Come on.
Maybe that's why
Stop it.
that's why I suggested young people have a career counselor. Because if I had that person, I might not have gotten into the line of work that I got into for such a long time. But, in hindsight, I didn't really know what this industry was. And what I learned from that is just like invaluable. I mean,
Pull that mic closer to you,
there's
Sarita.
so much to learn. I think one of the things I love most about it is that I learn something new every day. And it's challenging, and it's fun, and it's painful, and it's exhausting. But I learn. It's an education and just research. I love to research things and find things and be challenged about finding things, being tasked with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not really an industry for the faint of heart, right? Like
No.
you have to have pretty thick skin, and also it's such a transferable skill set to many industries. So, I quote retail, but all the things I did in retail, I'm doing in this industry, customer service, HR, training, onboarding, staffing, hiring, situational leadership. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on, right? So,
do you think young people are lazy right now? Or that's a big buzzword right now, right? Because I work with, I don't want to throw them under the bus, so
I think they're spoiled. I think they have been
expect
sheltered
too much.
it is not the same as when we grew up. And I just spent the last year and a half back in retail for a stint. And, I hadn't been in retail in 15 years. So it's not the same as when I hired people 15 years ago. I mean, you didn't get to call in sick 75 times before you ever got put on performance management plan, or, I have a headache, I'm going home, or,
Yeah.
it's just a completely different generation.
I recently went in to exchange a present that my neighbor is a director for a big cosmetic company. And she gave me a really nice present that she didn't get from her company. She bought it for me because she's very thoughtful. And it was something that I don't use. I don't use shaving cream because I use like a Vino on my face, right? So I go in there, and all of the ladies in this Nordstrom's cosmetic department, they're all my age group, right? They were the sweetest people on earth, and they were so knowledgeable. I also brought my Cocker Spaniel in there, so they were like loving that.
Oh.
But they were just really, really pros, rather than the younger gals who are like, "Ugh, what are you doing here?"
Yeah.
and they're on their phone whenever they can.
Yeah, it's like,
Jill over here listened to a conversation I had on the phone yesterday regarding a customer service incident, and we laughed about this girl that was on the other end of the phone. I forget what she actually said, but she said something like, yeah. And then at the end of the call, I even asked her name, and she's like, yeah, I'm not comfortable telling you that. And this was like my 5th or 6th phone call to the manager about something that was to be credited back to my account. And there were these long pauses. It was just unbelievable. And, I'm sure she's making $12 an hour or something. So, what can I do?
that sounds like everyone you talk to at United Airlines.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I feel really bad for this demographic of people because, they've also, not only did they grow up differently, but, they have a lot of other things affecting their mental health, just with the air, the water, the quickness of everything. So, this being spoiled, there's so many
instant
factors.
gratification.
Yeah. So, and a lot of it is
Stay
not
off
their
your bloody
fault.
phone, though. But they're on their phone
Well,
all
look
day
at what
long.
happened when I took the phone away from my son. Stay off your bloody phone. I had to quit my job to have that kid stay off his bloody phone.
I'm going to take your phone away.
I know.
You're going to lose it.
Hey, I'm a screenager. I'm on my phone.
I cannot wait to see you on the floor
That's
kicking
8
and
days a week.
screaming.
That's good.
Give me my phone.
That's good. That's good.
Well, anything else that anybody wants
Tried to change
add?
the world on this podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I just want to say, Latham, I spy and observe people from all over. I never used a recruiter in my 24-year stint. And that's because I observed people around town.
That is one thing I want to talk about. So you said it earlier, there were good recruiters, and now there are so many recruiters. Because is this a modern slave trade? I mean, I hate to put it in terms like that, but you are actually dealing in human beings. And placement with bad people seems to be almost a crime. So is this modern slave trading, or is it just opportunistic, bullshit from people? What is the mark of that good recruiter that you want to go to? And are there established groups out there that are really good?
Yes,
We just had this conversation recently.
There are good ones out there, definitely.
How do you find them?
That add
How do you find them?
Do you want to plug them?
I would love to plug them. I
Plug
think
'em.
to me, Rachel and her husband, I don't know his name, but at Oceanside Staffing, they're out of Florida. She was so genuine, and we both felt that way, in their process of interviewing style, of getting to know you. One of the things that bugs the bejesus out of me is when I get the low-level staffing person doing the questionnaires, and they're literally going rote down my CV and asking me the mundane questions instead of finding out who I am. And like this, we're having a conversation. Rachel at Oceanside Staffing is one of the best in my estimation.
Well, there you go, Rachel. Free plug from
We'll
your girls
get
here.
Rachel's information
Yeah.
and put in the show notes.
Yes.
I mean, Denise at Aunt Anne's is very old school, what we would call old school in the industry. And that's not derogatory. That's because she's been in business for 60 years. Her mom started the business 60 years ago. She and her sister,
She's
Sue. She's placed me 3 times. And I think about, in regards to her, again, someone that will advocate for you. So, not just giving your piece of paper to a client and not explaining who you are or speaking to your CV or, yes, COVID happened. And so there are these gaps and things, and not just going, oh, no, they didn't want to talk to you. You had a short-term job. I mean, that's not advocating. That's not explaining. That's not selling you to a client. So Denise is very good at that.
And what's her name?
Denise Collins
her
at
firm?
Aunt
Aunt
Anne's
Anne's.
agency.
And the thing about Denise at Aunt Anne's, and I lied, I guess, but I didn't do it on purpose. But I have used a recruiter because that's how I do know Denise, and it was when I was looking for a nanny. But the thing about Denise is she has seen this cycle change before.
Oh, yes.
So this is a wave, right? It's just like a financial analyst. They're like, okay, just don't look at the stock account every day. This is going to even out. And that's what I love about Denise. She knows.
She's just a real person.
Even keel,
Yes.
no highs and lows,
Okay, well, this is the point in the show where we're going to let you shout out who you are and how they can get in touch with you, or maybe not. You can find us here at Latham at madmanastudios.com. That's LATHAM at madmanastudios.com, MADMANA studios.com. And we can pass your information on if you're looking for someone for household staff or an executive assistant or chief of staff. I think that's the best way to do it.
Grateful. Thank you.
Any other parting comments, ladies?
Thanks for the conversation.
Yeah,
It's
this
fun.
has been fun.
Thanks for coming, ladies.
Yeah, nice to run into you in the lobby.
It was,
Essex is a beautiful place.
isn't it?
Yes.
By the way, Marvin is single. Okay, ladies.
Okay.
6'6" of pure hunk out there.
Okay. I'm
I've seen him.
I'm all over that.
I've
I'm single
seen him
and ready to mingle.
There you go. I've seen him lift kegs. He's all man. That Marvin. Anyway, well, you have been listening to Talks from the Essex Hotel with 3 very interesting women, all in the same trade and perspective on a part of life that we really don't ever see. And we hope to have them back. So thank you, Jill, Joe, Sarita. And until next time, this is Latham Woodward and Sarita Patel. Sarita, say goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone. And I am so happy to be a part of a secret society finally.
Yeah, you got
I really
to
am.
teach me the handshake afterward. Okay? Okay. That's all, guys. And we'll see you next time
Thanks,
here
everyone.
at Talks from the
Thank
Essex
you.
Hotel.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to Talks from the Essex Hotel. We strive to bring you interesting and different guests every week. Please like and subscribe to hear more content from Talks from the Essex Hotel. Until next time, see you then.